when I came here, I started, just as normal. People come here and then they go through the curriculum. But for me, and from the advice from my advisors, academic advisors, it wasn't enough. So going through the curriculum, I think it contribute maybe like 10%, if not 20%, to the overall success of students, especially international students. For international students, we have a lot of things that we need to figure out. And that's why you could see that a lot of schools, including Lehigh itself, it has like a network of advisors that you can go to, and then they can guide you to navigate your stay and through the job search process. So over the past year, I started, following the instructions, going to conferences. I went to Princeton last year. I went to a couple of conferences in New York as well, and some of the programs that were being organized by the United Nations Partnership at Lehigh, and then the other ones which were organized by the Office of International Students, as well as for the from our program itself. So there is a list, each and every year which have like a lot of conferences that people can attend to. So some of those conferences, you meet recruiters, you meet industry professionals from different industries. So, and this year, I think I was I'm actually aggressive when it comes to networking because I felt like it's the only way that I can get into the industry pretty fast. So, during the beginning of the year, I lined up almost a couple of conferences. Some of them I couldn't get to attend them because of financial constraints. But I managed to go to two big conferences. They were not financial conferences, or they were not quite related to my program, but the main purpose for me going there was to network, because I knew I was going to meet like a couple of professionals from different industries, and which have like unique career journeys that might resonate with my career path as well. So just a bit of a background for myself. I did actuarial science for my bachelor's back in Zimbabwe, and then I went into the financial services industry, and then I spent like a couple of years, 2 to 3 years in there. But I started as an internship, and then I left as a corporate finance analyst. I came here for the Masters in Financial Engineering program for the purpose of honing my skills. I felt like I had a couple of skills that I wanted to improve. So I actually got whatever I came here for, and one of the things was exposure. I wanted to expose myself to developed markets and to see how things are done in developed markets, and to improve my intercultural skills, my personal skills, even the networking aspect as well. Because I know there's some people who usually say like your network is your net worth. So my recent conferences that I went to one of the biggest conferences was the Risk World Conference in Chicago. That was in May. So I I saw the conference on LinkedIn, and I saw like a couple of connections that were going there, like mutual connections, and I reached out to them. And the conference itself was going for 1,400, just like for you to get into the conference. So that was the same price with the CFA conference, Institute Life Conference. It was also there in Chicago. So I tried to reach, my first preference was to go to the CFA Institute Live Conference, because it's like most of the professionals that I was going to meet there were in financial services. And then I tried to reach out and I tried to look for funding for the ticket itself, because 1,400 is quite a lot, especially for an international student. And unfortunately, I couldn't get it. But then there's someone from my connections on LinkedIn who then referred me to the management team for the Risk World Conference, which is more of insurance. And then I spoke to them, and then I told them like I'm a student from Lehigh University. I'm doing financial engineering, and I'm majoring in risk management. And they were like, "Oh, you are actually a good candidate for this. You should come for our conference." And then I then applied, and then they gave me like a fee waiver. So it was like good for me to just attend the risk reward conference. So just to get things going, I then downloaded the application. I think that was one of my strategies. So the conference itself was so organized, Professor. So they have an application where they put like the updates, announcement, the live sessions, so you could choose before even the conference starts which sessions do you want to attend, and then you can like create your own customized schedule. And then you have access to the list of all attendees, all the speakers, and all students, everyone. And then they can like tell you where they come from, their companies, their background. They actually put even their social network links, the LinkedIn, their emails, even the phone number. So you have like access to their contact details. So I went, it was like a month before the conference itself. So I started going through almost, I used to do it 2 to 3 days, 2 to 3 days. So I went through the attendees list, and I find a couple of professionals whom I'm not going to mention their names in this live uh, stream, but I found like almost they were like 10, 10 if not 15. So these people, they came from a finance background, but they are now in risk management and insurance. And some of them, they are in insurtech, which is more likely like a niche area of fintech. I started reaching out to them on LinkedIn and then on emails. So it's not everyone that responds. So usually the success rate, it was like 20%, which was quite good for me compared to the response rate on LinkedIn. So I told them my background. I shared with them my LinkedIn profile, and then we scheduled one-on-one meetings because the conference itself, it was a 5-day conference, so it was a big conference, and it was attended by more than 12,000 people, and there were like more than 900 exhibitions, so companies that were present there. So during the conference, we went there. I managed to meet with them, like the people whom I scheduled the meetings with one on one. And you know, usually as international students, we are afraid, to reach out to people. We we don't know how we perceive other people, but what I just realized is we don't need to be afraid. People out there are really good. They are really nice, and almost everyone is willing to help. When we get to Chicago, some of these people that I reached out to, they were the ones who actually followed up with me, like, what's your schedule? And I was like, but we scheduled for 3 p.m. and this person is asking me if we can meet before lunch. Something like that. And I was like, no, it's fine. And for me, I didn't go for sessions. I wanted to network. So networking was at the top of my priority
Hold on. You
list.
said something important here
Yeah.
because I noticed that sometimes a lot of students they feel safer by going in and going to the sessions,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because then they get into the mode of, I guess, student mode, right? I am
Hmm.
here to
To
learn.
learn. Yeah.
You're not. So you literally went straight to the point. You didn't even bother with the session. You went around, I guess, the different people standing around, and you went after
Yes.
them.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
but how do you introduce yourself? What's your secret? How do you do it?
So, just as normal professor, when you're approaching a person, you extend your hand, and if they're like talking with other people, you excuse them because you'll be like disturbing their conversation, or you just stand aside and then listen to the flow of the conversation. If you have something to contribute, you extend your hand, you shake with a firm handshake. Everyone, you introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Edson Bope. I'm from Lehigh University. I'm student. I'm studying financial engineering. You know, and then they'll also introduce themselves. And if they have like follow-up questions, if they like the seniors, they may start like with a question. Because I met a couple of people who used to say, wait a minute, I have a question. So how are you planning to do this? So what are your skills? What have you gained from doing this and this and this and this? So what's your strategy? Like those common questions. So a lot of people are so engaging because they know that as students, a lot of us are actually afraid and we don't know how to keep the conversations going. So whenever they have time, they try their very best to accommodate you. So that's another type of people. So if you don't have that skill yourself, they try to create a conducive environment so that you don't feel isolated or you don't feel like you don't belong there. Yes. So yeah, when I get to people, so most of them, especially at the Risk World Conference, they were like salespeople because they were there for business. And then so I actually made myself a very big advantage when I scheduled like one-on-one meetings because they're like the big bosses, those who have like critical roles at the company, they were having meetings. They were not there for the conference sessions. Conference sessions, yes, they are nice because I actually attended a couple of sessions where they were talking about AI, they were talking about insurtech, they were talking about risk management, something like that. And they were so good. And you would have like an opportunity to meet with the speakers as well. Because these conferences, they were not uh these were like business people who were coming together to sell their products, and to hire people. But I will explain the difference between that one and the recent one, which I attended a week ago. So yeah, I had a couple of meetings, and when I was introducing myself, and usually when I said I'm doing financial engineering, they would be like, "Oh, so you're a quant, so you're gonna do trading. So what is it there for you here?" And I'll be like, "No, yes, I'm gonna be a quant. I'm gonna do a quantitative research. I'm gonna get into trading. Those are all the fields that I can get into. I'm capable into doing all those like kind of jobs. But I have a lot of transferable skills that I gained from this project from this program. I know how to code. I know how to play with a couple of coding languages, especially R and Python. I know how to do statistical analysis, financial analysis. I did investments. I'm familiar with a lot of financial products, even insurance products from my actuarial background. So I have a lot of transferable skills so that like if in your company you have like an analytical department, I can get into that and I have a analytical skills that I can use, to execute some of the tasks and the responsibilities that I'll be undertaking. So I think that was like the key point for me to jump from like not letting people perceive that I'm only here for quant trading. Of it, a lot of insurance companies, they don't have like trading teams, but they have like analytical teams and data analytics teams. They have like the finance guys, that needs like our expertise from the financial engineering program. So that was like my key selling point. So I also spoke with my about my projects that I've been working on. I spoke of that like blockchain project which I was working on. So I told them like I'm now familiar with the how the blockchain works, and I'm gonna be taking some courses as well whilst like finalizing my program. And I also spoke with the data risk project, which I'm working on, where I've been like working with our sponsor in trying to create an agentic AI autonomous one, which can like do the curation process for any kind of business. So when I was speaking to about all those things, you could see people getting engaged, being eager to understand more about you. So that was like one of the strategy. And I got very good connections, some of them from Philly and some of them from Chicago, of which Chicago is like one of the top cities that I would want to work in, you know. So I got very good contact and got in Chicago, very good contact in Philly, and some of them are in New Jersey and New York. And these people, they are eager to help. I'm communicating with them. I think that's another thing that I also wanted to highlight, Professor, to say when you go there, rather than like looking for, yes, you get like some opportunities, but you also get a chance to expand your network of mentors and sponsors. Because, you could say that like after speaking with the person, they'll be like, I did look at your LinkedIn profile, but I think I'm gonna look at it again and maybe tell my team to look at it. We don't know what's gonna come up. And for me, that's enough. That's good. I just want someone who will like mention my name where I'm not there. So that's a kind of a sponsor that I would be looking forward to have. And that's the kind of relationship that I'll be looking forward to have. Like if it comes that I have they have an or airport opening and they'll be like, you can just go on our website and look for these openings. If you find something interesting, reach out to me and then I will guide you and I will like lead you to someone whom you can speak to. Those are the kind of relationships that I've been like chasing for now. And after the Risk World conference, I came back and I spent like another 1 month or 2 months before I went to the other one. That one was the Rise Leadership Award Summit. So the Rise itself, it's an acronym, standing for Rising Insurance Stars Executive. So this one wasn't it was a conference, but it was more for of leaders and industry professionals. So I met like a couple of students, but not so many. It was like a handful of them. So a lot of people that were there, like they were insurance professionals who are like rising through their careers. I managed to, and my strategy remained the same. I reach out to people. I ask about their journey and I see if there is something that we can resonate. And again, they also had an application where you can see the list of all attendees. You can schedule meetings. You can ask them questions. You can share anything that you would want to share. And these applications, they don't discard them or they don't disable them once the conference is done. So the application they will remain intact and it will be like your another social network app. But this one, it's a niche. It's not everyone that is gonna get into that. So you have to pay for you to join those applications. So it's now different with LinkedIn where you can like see everyone. But this one will have like something which is tangible, something mutual, something stronger than just a connection. We have met, we have discussed, we have shared our interests, and then they gave you some referrals. Now your name is no longer something that comes from the air, but they now remember you physically. So that was like the strategy, Professor, and I I learned a lot. I learned a lot.
Okay. So, one,
Hmm.
you have a strategy, right?
Hmm.
Um, Two, you're basically self propelling yourself, right? Because it, I want to get into the psychology of it, right?
Hmm.
When you go in front of these people, I mean, you sound like you're a very confident person, right? But that's not for everyone,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And you're right. International students, you got the additional, the pressure that, right? Maybe things are a bit different. They don't understand what I'm saying. And I guess one thing, as when we talk about professional development, the issue that we always have is, as opposed to a classroom, where I'd say, okay, do chapter 1 through 10, do the assignments, and you do the assignments, and then you get the grade, and you say, well, I understand what's happening. Yeah, you understand this part, right? But
Mm-hmm.
this field, this networking thing that you get involved, I feel it's different than learning.
Mm-hmm. Very different.
How
Mm-hmm.
is it different from learning? I guess what part of your brain is it that you're using there that you're not using when you're, in a classroom environment?
Yeah, I think the way I can approach this kind of question is to say, you used to say the structured part. So when we are in the classroom, these classrooms are not really different with what we have back home, right? So when you get into the classroom, you get that comfort. You see, everything will be like structured, and then you get into the classroom, you sit and you wait for the professor to give you some notes. This is all theoretical, right? And then you feed your mind with all that theory without putting it into practice. So the theory itself is very important, but I feel like when you get engaged into projects, you are now like tackling real issues. You are honing your analytical skills. You are honing your programming skills. You are honing your financial analysis skills, which is pretty good, right? But then after that, you need to go out and then explain whatever you found to a layman. You did all the desktop work, you did all the office work, it's fine. And it's really good. The results are really good. But you need to explain that to executives out there. You need to explain that to the salespeople out there in a manner that they will understand and they will be able to convey that same information to a layman who doesn't understand anything. So you now need your interpersonal skills. You now need your intercultural skills. So one thing I have learned when I came here is in America, you can find everyone. You can find Asians, you can find almost everyone, Africans, people from the Caribbean, people with different cultures, right? And you need to know how to interact with all those people. Yes, you have like very good resume, you have very good GPA, you have very good results from the project you were working on, but you now need to defend, your results, and you now need to convey those results to people. How are you gonna do that if you don't have interpersonal skills? So when I was at the Reskilled conference, I spoke with this 1 hour award winner, and he was like, you know what, for me, I felt like most people who are in our analytical department, they don't know how to speak. So when you are talking to them, they will be like, oh, so when I was doing this analysis, I found that they don't know how to do like eye to eye, you know. And then by, conveying their results in such way, people will lose confidence in their work, and they will be like, we think we need to cross-check, your work again. They won't have confidence in your work. So I felt like by going out there and speaking to people, you improve your interpersonal skills, your intercultural skills. And now I know how to speak with a Chinese person. So when I'm having a conversation with a Chinese, it's different when I'm having another different conversation with an American, or when I'm having another conversation with an African. I now know, some kind of differences between these people. In as much as you know how to code, in as much as you are a pro in mathematics, in statistics, in economics, in whatever program, you need those skills. Those are the ones that I feel like they will open doors for you. Because you see, when we send resumes, I also speak with this talent acquisition manager. They said, when you guys send resumes, there are like some key questions that can make your resume get rejected by the ATS. But then if it passes through the ATS, we see the resumes ourselves and we go through them. And in that first initial interview, like the 15-minute call, they will want to test your communication skills, your soft skills. And then on the second, that's when they can like test your technical skills. And then at the third, which is usually the most difficult one, they now want to test your engagement skills. How fit are you? Like how capable are you to work with others, like the teamwork, you know? So when you are doing teamwork, yes, you need to know how to 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 maybe to do tasks that you are like assigned to in a timely manner, but you also need to know how to communicate. You also need to know how to conduct meetings. So I think that those are some of the things that I felt like people do overlook when they come to school.
And not only do they overlook, but it's not their fault because they overlook it because if you look at your curriculum or anybody's curriculum, right, and all
Mhm,
the courses that you're being said that you need to take, I mean, we are one of the few programs where we actually have a, a professional development, or this is what's happening right now, right? When I'm trying to raise awareness, but students are usually say, well, what do you want me to do? I mean, I'm focused on my GPA, but you're right.
mhm,
You could have a great GPA, but if you can't explain a story and you can't tell what you want, and you can't break a conversation when people are talking and you're like, "Excuse me, how are you?" and make it come out all right, they will never know that you are alive. They never know that you exist. So you'll never
mhm,
get a job from these people. And
mhm.
yet, they might have had an opportunity
Yes.
for. Go ahead.
Even if they don't have an opportunity, they might even create an opportunity for you, a place for you in their company if they like you enough.
Exactly, right?
Yes.
And unfortunately, students, I would say, spend 90%, 95% of their time on what we are calling now the how
Mhm,
to do it, how
mhm,
to program, how to code, how to get a good grade. But they spend little amount of time as to why they're doing it, right? Because you may be doing, have you done some of the project that you worked on, right?
mhm,
I
mhm,
mean, the stuff that you're working on is valuable because the sponsor says that's what I need. But I'm
mhm.
sure if you go back to classroom work and you've done some of the Python programming, you've done a lot of programming, but frankly, you didn't use much of it because you were
Yes.
focused on the how, but not on the why. And this is crucial, right? Because at the end of the day, how do you know what is the why? What do they want from me? What do they want from me? They don't know that, right? I mean, unless you go to them and say, "What do you want me to do?"
Mhm,
Well, you do know the why. Yeah, when there's a job and it's available for you, then you come in and then they tell you what they want. But I mean, but when you get that appointment for that interview, you and 500 other people get the same call.
mhm.
Then you get to see what they want. But by the time it's too late, right?
Yes. Yes.
Now you
So
mentioned. Go ahead.
one thing I also wanted to highlight is I think the why part is the most important one. And as much as we know, so usually when we are coming here, we know like our end goal, right? And then, like what you said, people will then focus on the how part. But remember, when here, most jobs, so when I was speaking to this talent acquisition, I actually spent a couple of moments with talent acquisition managers. So they said, most jobs, they can be trained. So you usually need a basic understanding of what is required. And then they will put you on a training or like a probation kind of thing. And then they will tell you exactly what they want. So when you are good at analytics, remember it's not every company that uses Python. It's not every company that uses R. It's not every company that uses Tableau. It's not every company that uses Excel. But once you get there, they will introduce you to another different system that you have never heard of. But because you have a basic understanding of how things go, you can be trained on how to do that. And I was actually happy when I heard about that. So they said, with all the experience that you have, with all the skills that you have, you don't really need to worry much about this. But you now need to put your foot into the industry. Once you get there, you get trained, right? You get trained on how to do some of the unique things that are unique to each and every company. But as long as you have like a basic understanding of on how to do it, then you are good to go.
Now, you mentioned before that you know how to speak to a Chinese person and you know to speak, and we had talked about the past, right? The idea that certain countries are low
Yes.
context, and
Mhm.
some of them are high context. How do you manage that? How do you handle different people? Because it makes a difference.
Yes. So usually, for me, when I start connecting with people, we start on the application, and then I feel like the way they respond to me. If they are more casual, I then see that, oh, this person is, it doesn't need to be more formal. And then when I get to the conference itself, I sit and observe how people behave. And another thing that was like good about all these conferences, they have a session for first timers. So if you are new to conferences, if you are new to such a conference, if you are like an international person who doesn't know how to navigate the conference itself, they have a first timer session. So when you go there, they give you like the statistics that you need to know. So here we have our audience is 90% students or it's 50% executives, and most of them they are in this industry, and most of them they are doing this. So usually how we approach things, we do this and this and this and this, and they also do their sessions with those professionals and like the experienced people. So when you are now approaching people, you will have like something, you have like a kind of expectations, but it's not everyone that you follow those kind of things. So when you approach a person, if they have like an accent, especially like for us Africans, we do have like an accent. People might not be able to hear what you are saying, some of the words. So you just need to be patient with them, right? And you also need to tell them that it's not a problem that you are asking me to repeat this sentence like a couple of times. But as long as you are able to understand each other, that's okay. Right? You just need to be patient with people. I think that's one thing I learned. And you also need to understand that in as much as they are maybe failing to understand you from the initial point of view, but they might have something behind that they are like seeing about you that they might like, and that they might use as a point of reference when they are talking to other people. So you don't really need to look things from a negative point of view. You just need to be positive almost every time.
But how do you get there? Can you teach somebody to be positive? I mean, you and I know, without mentioning names, right? But you know a lot of people that are just not that positive people, right?
Yeah.
They may be getting, good grades, but they feel that, that's going to protect them. Maybe if they have
Hmm.
enough GPAs and enough applications and certification, that's going to help them. But
Hmm.
can you make them positive people? How do you do that?
I think, Professor, that one is very difficult. To teach someone to be positive, uh, I don't really know how to do that because I think it's something that just comes naturally, one, or in as much as you expose yourself, you need to be someone who is willing to take those social risks, right? Because I think some of these things they can be improved by practice. Right. So yes, you might feel like you are positive whilst you are in your room, but I think you need to also get involved with a lot of activities where you meet different kind of people. And you also need to try your very best to refrain from not hanging out with those people who are pretty close to you, like your friends from the same country or from your classmates. So I think that's another thing. When I went to the Risk World Conference, I had a couple of friends from my home country and my former classmates. So they were so excited to see me after a long time, and they wanted to hang with me. And I was like, you know what, guys? For you, you are my people. You can visit me to my room during the evening, but during the day, let's focus to what we are here for, right? We know each other. Yes, we can talk, but for me and you, we already created and strengthened our connections. I now know if if there's an opportunity that can suit well with your um with your skills, I can refer it to you. I now know you. But at this point in time, so you need to be bold enough to even tell your friends. You need to be on the same page on what you are there for, so that you won't be that comfortable. You need to remind each other that, like, guys, we are here to create new connections, right? So we don't need to do this anymore. I think you just need to be bold enough and be reminding yourselves the reasons why you are there.
I think you gave the answer to people that might not be that confident. Is basically, but like a classroom where you train, you have to train yourself
Mhm.
to right get involved in different activities way before you have the interview, right? You get
Yes.
in activities that promotes your ability to talk to people. The thing is, if it's left up to you, if you don't do anything, that's fine. You could graduate just the same, right? Now, if you don't
Mhm.
take your math finals, you have a problem. But if you don't go out, you don't talk to people, or you don't network, or you don't not even networking. I'm just talking about just getting out of your comfort zone, and
Mhm.
because you need, and you're right, you need to learn how to talk and make sure that you do the right thing to the right people. Then if you don't do it enough, when are you going to do it? You're going to do it when you send a resume and then you get called in. And that's the time you're going to say, okay, now sell what you have to sell. And that's what happens, right? That
No,
opportunity then is gone because you didn't behave properly.
yeah. I don't know if I have mentioned this previously, Professor, but I wanted to say that, these conferences, it's like you are exposing yourself to a pool of informational interviews. Every person that you'll be talking to, he or she, it's like an interview. How are you conveying yourself? How are you selling your skills? Before you knew it, that informational interview might even translate to a real interview. I know someone who got an internship through that. So they met someone at a conference and they started talking, and they didn't knew that whilst they are talking, it's actually an interview. So when they got an offer, and they were like, the recruiter was like, "Oh, so we have an opening at our company, and we felt like you are the right fit for this." And she was like, "So how are the interviews going to happen?" And they were like, "No, we are done with you. We already did the interview." And she was like, "What?" And there was no technical interview. There was no those three stages. No. When they met and they started exchanging, conversations via the application, and that was actually an interview itself. And when because when she was meeting with other people, that guy was observing how she was interacting with other people. You see? So because the role itself was it's a sales role, but still an internship. So the guy was observing, they spoke and they were done. But once he was observing each and every step she was making, like how she was interacting with other people. And just by doing that, she got an internship.
Right? So that's a very important skill to do. That's a and in fact the if you think about the interview, right? the normal interview where what they tell you, you work, you get your GPA, you graduate, you send your resume, and then they interview you. But
Mm.
that method is a very barbaric method, right? Because
Yeah, yeah.
it's rough, right? Because first you have to apply with all these people, and
Mm.
then they bring you in, one of many people. They put you. Sometimes they don't even ask you a question. In fact, now I'm understanding, and some of the quant the jobs. First, you don't even talk to a person, right? First, they got to do a assessment test.
Yes.
Can you do all these things? Can you calculate? Can you think? Okay, now let's talk to one person.
Hmm.
Now let's talk to another person and another person and another. I mean, I know the guy. I mean, I'm not going to mention names, but you know this person that we both know, and he had a job in Philadelphia, and he had 12 interviews there. I mean, 12
Yeah.
interviews for the same job, right? So imagine once you've gone through 12, and they say, you know what? Thank you very much, right? I mean, so what is a how are they deciding? Now, of course, I understand, that is needed, right? Because most people don't network anyway,
Yeah.
and it's a good thing because if everyone would network, then it would be an unmanageable process. So
Mm.
yes, you're part of those people that don't really network, and you think you're going to get your job by interviewing, and you get interviewing, and you get through the process, but by the time you're done with the process, this is exhausting, right?
Yeah.
And then
Very exhausting.
you may not, and mentally too.
Hmm.
So and usually they won't even tell you why they didn't take you.
And it will be difficult again for you to pick up yourself after that devastating moment. It's very difficult.
I have seen that, and especially for international students, because
Yeah.
they don't like me. Maybe I don't speak right, or maybe the accent, or maybe I could have done if it was different. So all these things play in your mind. While it's so much easier, I tell students to do like you do, which is network. You're not looking for a job today.
Yep.
You're relaxed. You get to talk, right? And then they so but what do you do after the fact? Once you talk to all these people, do you go back to them? To
Yes.
Do you have a
Hmm.
plan?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the next step. So the conference itself, I think getting to the conference, it's really good. You meet people individually, but usually people will be very busy during the conference times. And what you just need to do is to make them remember you, right? And then when you go back, reach out to them. Like for me, this week, I'm meeting with three people. So we already, because I had told them that like I'm gonna out to you maybe a week after this since you'll be busy, and they were like, no, 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 no. We need to schedule a meeting just after this conference, right? So you need to now go back to people, to those people, and then you now speak like with tangible things, right? So previously you were discussing, you get to know each other, and maybe they were just like rushing, but they felt like they are interested in having a more even casual or formal conversation with you, like one on one, right? So it depends with the person. Others might then say, uh, shoot an email right now, or others might say, just reach out to me, or others might say, call me. It depends. So if they say like send me an email, make sure you do that, right? You send them an email, you tell them like you remind them the moment you met. I'm Edson. We met over there. We spoke about this and this, right? I'm reaching out to find if you have like an availability this week. For me, my times I'm available this and this these days and these days, so that you give them like some options, right? And then usually they respond because you already spoke about this. This is now just a formality, right? And then now before that meeting, you now need to have like clear goals. You now need to have a structured approach so that you tell them whatever you are looking for. Right? You now need to have your facts right. So that like if they are to refer you to someone, they know exactly what to say. So that's what I then come, and then usually I go and review again the profile of that person and see their paths, path how they get to wherever they are now. And then so that when we are talking, I will tell them, so this is me, like I have said, I'm gonna graduate end of this year. Right now, if you have something that you think I might like shadow on or something that I can like work on as part of like training, preparing myself to this kind of thing. So you now need to have all your things straight. You go to their company website. If you see something interesting, maybe you might have an opportunity to mention that, but it's now time to strengthen your network and then create a strategy to continue with that network. So that's when you see that usually, especially for us who are students who will be looking for mentors and sponsors who will be looking for opportunities, you need to be then accountable for that network, right? Because these people are busy. So they will be having their own responsibilities, they will be chasing their own targets, but you now need to show that you are hungry in knowing whatever they are doing. You are enthusiastic, something like that. You are passionate about whatever you have talked about. So that will be the next step forward.
Yeah, I think you said the key word here. You need to be hungry.
Yeah,
You need to be hungry to. Great. So this is good, Edson. Hopefully, you have more events planned for the summer. The summer is still. This is a
yeah,
time really to do it,
yeah.
right? Because you have
Hmm.
plenty of
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
Let's hope you do well, and I guess you're graduating at the end of the year. Let's see what happens. Yeah, and
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll keep you posted,
yeah,
Professor.
yeah, yeah. Keep
Most
us
probably
posted.
we'll do another second version of this live stream.
Yeah, we're gonna do
Yeah.
at the end of the summer. I want to see what you did, and because this is our first trial, in terms of, I mean, I also do the same thing with this channel, right? I try different things, what
Mhm.
works and what doesn't work, to bring the word for the students. So I want to thank you very much for that.